स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to remove all ignorance, to light us the lamp of knowledge. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real. From death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Sri Ramakrishna was giving instructions to Pandit Shashadhar. Shashadhar was a great scholar, a sincere, straightforward person. Sri Ramakrishna taught him how to step up his spiritual practices. He said to him, there are three kinds of joys. The worldly joy, the joy of worship, and the joy of Brahman. The joy of the world is the joy of lust and gold, which people always enjoy. As long as the mind is drawn towards joys of the world, he cannot avoid suffering, miseries in this world. The worldly joys drag the mind to such an extent that they overpower the mind. One cannot get out of them. One becomes victim of these worldly joys. The worldly joy always degrades a person. It doesn't keep him joyful all the time. Sometimes people will be frustrated. People will not be satisfied. They want more and more to enjoy the world. Consequently, it leads to jealousy, hatred, and so on. These are the offsprings of the worldly joy. The joy of worship is that one gets while chanting the name and glories of God. Finally, the joy of Brahman, that is the joy of God vision. The worldly enjoyment binds one more and more to the world. It puts the man under its control. An account of this hankering after worldly enjoyment, one may suffer 1,000 humiliations, yet he can't resist the temptation. In that process, he becomes totally miserable and restless. The more the man becomes worldly, the more he turns away from God. The more he runs after the worldly joys, the more he tends to become selfish and all the bad qualities try to enter into his heart. Once a devotee came to Sri Ramakrishna and asked, Master, how is it that I don't see God, although I have renounced everything? The Master looked at him. Immediately he came to know the reason. So he said to him, well, have you seen leather jars for keeping oil? Suppose you empty one of them. Still it retains something of the oil as well as its smell. In the same way, there is still some worldliness left in you, and its odor persists. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the prophet of love, he was teaching the disciples how to love God. Once a disciple asked him, why is it that all his teaching of divine love produces no tangible result on the minds of men? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that shows their minds are merged in the worldly joys. And he said further, brother, there is no salvation for the worldly minded. If you have to have real peace and real joy, you have to cross over the worldly joys. Sri Ramakrishna explained it. If there is a tiny hole at the bottom of a jar of water, the whole water will leak out. Similarly, if there is the smallest tinge of worldliness in the aspirant, all his exertions will come to naught. So what is important is that the mind should be freed from all attachment to sense objects, then it turns to God, and then it is easy to fix the mind on Him. Once a disciple asked Sri Ramakrishna, "O Master, I am passing all my days in religious contemplation. Still, evil thoughts keep on coming to my mind from time to time." Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Well, you should know how to deal with them. There was a man who had a pet dog. He used to caress it, carry it about in his arms, play with it, and kiss it. He was very fond of the dog, and the dog also became very fond of the master. One day a wise man warned this man not to be so much affectionate towards the dog. After all, dog is an irrational one. It might bite you any time. The owner of the dog heeded to this warning. From thence onward, he would not take the dog in his arms. He stopped fondling it or caressing it. In the beginning, the dog could not understand its master's behavior. It would come to him now and then to be taken into his arms or to be caressed. But the master did not show any inclination. Several times he bet the dog so that it may not come near him. Finally, the dog stopped coming to him anymore. Sri Ramakrishna said to the devotee, "Your condition is like that. The dog that you have been cherishing so long in your bosom will not easily leave you, though you may want to get rid of it. However, there is no harm in it. Don't caress the dog anymore, but give it a good beating whenever it approaches you to be fondled, and in course of time you will be altogether free from its importunities. You have to get over the worldliness in order to taste the joy of worship. The joy of worship is a higher joy that you get, which elevates you, which makes you more and more joyful, more and more happy. You become closer to God by worshipping Him, chanting His divine name and glories, singing the hymns. The joy that you get is really a remarkable one. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Kalikale yuga dharma namer prachar, naam binu kalikale dharma nahi aar." Repeat the name of the Lord. It is most efficacious religion for this Kali Yuga. Sri Ramakrishna emphasized the same thing. He said, chant the name of Hari. In Kali Yuga, one should sing the name and glories of God. Nityananda carried out Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions with all zealousness. He lit the lamp of devotion to God in the hearts of two notorious drunkard criminals, Jagai and Madhai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pardoned them for their previous crimes, accepted responsibility for their atonement, and freed them. Those two, Jagai and Madhai, they repented sincerely. And then they began to live pure lives. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, love of God is the only essential thing, and all the rest are non-essentials. So, must always try to see how you keep that level of mind where you always cherish love of God. Devotion is an unceasing and loving meditation upon the Lord, who is the home of all auspicious qualities. A devotee considers God dearest to him, constantly remembers Him alone, and engages himself in activities that please Him. He dedicates himself to the eternal service of his beloved, discarding the idea of me and mine. He totally surrenders himself to the God whom he loves. He wants nothing. He knows very definitely everything belongs to him, his most beloved God. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Prema Bhakti. It is the crest jewel of all the Purusharthas. To a Jnani, Jnana is the highest. To a devotee, Jnana, Karma and Yoga find their culmination and fulfillment in love of God. Let us try to cherish love of God. That is the real joy. That joy takes us to the highest plane. When we see God, we get the highest joy. The joy that we get by the vision of God. That's the supreme joy. So, somehow one should get out of worldliness. The offspring of worldliness is jealousy, hatred, anger, greed, lust. Eventually, the man who is worldly suffers on account of these offsprings. Whoever has these qualities in him is considered to be worldly. In order to get rid of the worldliness, you should cherish love of God and pursue your spiritual practices, so that finally you will get real peace, joy and bliss.
One more question about what you just said. Sometimes it's hard for me to understand what is worldliness. I mean, things like lust, greed, jealousy, there's some things that you do that develop these gunas, these qualities. How about a high school student who's trying to get into the best college in an MBA program? Is that worldliness?
Which one?
A student trying to get into a college of his or her choice, is that also worldliness? Is that kind of desire also worldliness?
Going to college.
Wanting to get into a specific college, so he or she is in competition with you.
No. Whether you call it jealousy, hatred, that's a different issue. What I am telling is, how far you are worldly, how far your mind is towards God. From that point of view I am telling. It is true, when you are in competition, when you are one of the competitors, all the things follow. You know, there was a famous incident that one girl, skating girl, she became jealous of another American girl who would become internationally famous, who wanted to go to Olympic Games. This one of the guys, he went and he hit her leg so that she may not compete in the Olympic Games, so that this lady would become Harding, a name, some name. So this lady would become famous. Is it not jealousy? What kind of competition is that? Tell me that. Competition as such, if she had taken, well, let me go, let me compete. Whatever the results come, I am ready. That's good. But generally speaking, competition breeds jealousy. Is it not? Jealousy. I'm putting everything in a very generalized way. Don't take in a particularized way. There are always exceptions. That's a different thing. Coming to a general point. How far you are running towards God, how far the mind is going towards God, how far mind is going away from God. That's the point. Whatever we do and then finally telling it's all God, that won't work. No. Immediately you will come to know God is keeping quiet, He is silent, I don't need God. Like that you will say one day. And God is also not unhappy over that. If you want to objectify God. So, like that. It's true, in a good spirit if you do, that sportsmanship, wonderful, appreciable. How many people do really, it's ideal. Everybody talks like that. You must have sportsmanship. What is sportsmanship? Even if you are defeated, you should be cheerful. Good. If you have that attitude, you are God. Appreciate. To that extent, you are superior worldly man than ordinary worldly people. Wonderful. May God help you. But finally you will come to know these things will not pay. You may be free from faults, you may be free from any wrongdoings, but even then people may become jealous of you, seeing your name and fame. Ah, look at this guy. He's becoming so high, so respectful. People all honor him. Jealousy, unnecessarily. Why should you bother about him? He has come on his own merit. That is called jealousy. It's not on account of you, on account of that man's inability to come to your level. That pushes him to commit some bad crime because he is intolerant. See, we have seen many universities, the PhD students. I read it also many times. Nowadays I am not reading at all. They were about to finish their degree, PhD course, etc. And one guy, he became so intolerant, he began to shoot his professor, everybody, because he came to know he did not do well in the exam. For that he began to shoot other people, because he thought other man will come first and he will lose. See the fun. For his fault, he is punishing the other people. What sort of joy he gets? He doesn't even think of the future reaction. He will be put in jail. He doesn't think any of such things. Because in that fit of anger, he is ready to do, let me do this, let me go even to jail. That is his thinking. Do you know? Many people who do crime, and at the point of crime, they think like that. Even if I go to jail, doesn't matter. He poses himself as a very big man, as a bold man. But after the act is done, he becomes timid. That's a different issue. So like that, all this is because of the worldliness. You have to fight. You have to fight with worldliness to come to God. Fighting is very important. If you don't fight, you don't know how to go forward. Fighting is essential. Everybody has to fight. Everybody has to fight his bad samskaras. In whatever way they come. They do come. They do come.